Ignore the chaos and the craziness that is my hair today, but chaos and craziness, did you guys come to my channel expecting less? Hello beautiful people of the internet, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm so excited that you joined me today. A couple of things, my neighbor did decide that this is the perfect time to mow his grass, so if you hear that, that's there. Also, I have been sick for the past couple of days, and when I mean sick, I mean sick. I have been down for the count. I'm finally alive after like 4 days, so if you can hear anything that is left over, that's just what we're dealing with. For today's video, we're going to be talking about my top 15 favorite thrillers. Guys, this was not an easy recommendation video to do, I'm not even gonna lie. If you've been around for a while, then you know by now that my go-to genre is thrillers. So I want to kind of touch on that for just a second because I feel like a lot of people tend to get mystery and thriller kind of mixed up and they kind of smush them together. And in my opinion, they are not necessarily the same. Now, I am not pulling this from any kind of Google search or any kind of dictionary. This is just my humble opinion. And that is that a thriller is much more fast-paced than your average mystery. And I want to make this loud and clear, my friends. Thrillers are a lot heavier and sometimes get a lot darker than your average mystery. And so when people put mystery and thrillers together, yes, you were still getting that mystery aspect of trying to figure out who did the murder, who did this, who did that, trying to catch the bad guy, but there's also probably some darker things that are going to take place. So there's probably going to be some language thrown around in there. Please do not go into a thriller expecting a good, cozy, fluffy time because it's not going to be in there. If you've ever watched the show Criminal Minds or CSI or anything like that, I feel like that is a good example of what a thriller is because it's thrilling, it's exciting, it keeps your attention, but at the same time, there's also some darker themes throughout that show. There's no bake shops included, friendly neighborhood chats, okay? It is definitely foot to the grindstone, we're going into this. So if that's not your cup of tea, then maybe thrillers are not for you, but if you do like a good fast-paced time and things like this don't really bother you, then I say go for it because thrillers are my #1 go-to to recommend to new readers because that is actually the genre that I got started out on, and just the thriller genre in general holds a special place in my heart. I hope that cleared up some confusion because I know a lot of bookstores even have mysteries and thrillers together, and I know it can be hard to decipher between the two, but today I'm going to be sharing my top 15 thrillers with you. So let's quit jabbing and let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, party people, before we get started, I do want to honorable mention one specific author. Now, if you've been around for a minute, then you know why I'm honorably mentioning this author. The entire time that I've been a reader, I didn't really start getting back into reading until about 4 years ago. And the entire time that I've been a reader, this man has been my favorite author. And y'all know what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. Mr. Riley Sager. Riley Sager is my favorite author of all time. And when I say favorite author, I don't mean, oh, he's my favorite thriller author. No, my friends, he is my favorite author. I would quite literally read this man's grocery list over and over again. I love Riley Sager's books. The reason that I am honorably mentioning Riley Sager is I am going to do a whole separate video ranking his books because I have read every single one of his releases and I'm going to be reading his newest release, so I'll probably wait to do that video when that new one comes out, and I'm going to be doing a whole guide to Riley Sager video. So I didn't want this entire list to be just Riley Sager. Giving kind of a spoiler, I did put one of his books on here. Just one. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the top 15. Also, I do own all of these books, but I am not about to go chasing them, so I'm just gonna put a picture of the book here. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. Alright, starting at number 15, we've got The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And I do want to touch on Frida McFadden for just a minute because I know we've all heard about her books. In my humble opinion, I think Frida McFadden is a popcorn thriller writer. I think her books are pretty short and they're very fast and they're very entertaining, but as far as like super deep thrillers and super memorable thrillers, I don't really remember a ton about her books. I just remember enjoying them in the moment. However, this one specifically had me by the throat, and I just want you to know that if you're not prepared to go into this one, it gets crazy. So don't go into it if you're not prepared for that. This one follows our main character who is struggling. And she gets a job as a housemaid and she's like, wow, this is pretty easy, this is great. And everything seems to be going okay until the wife that she's working for starts to act super crazy. She starts blaming her for things that are not her fault. She starts screaming at her for no reason. And she's just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. That's literally all I'm going to tell you about this one because I feel like it's so much better if you go in not knowing a lot. But again, get prepared for this one, y'all. Just be prepared. Y'all, this one holds such a special place in my heart because this was the first thriller that I ever picked up. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I know that you know what this is. This has been around for a long time, and this has been around since I've become a reader. If for some reason that you have not read this book yet, you need to. Talk about a lasting impact. I still think about this book. This one is following a woman named Alicia, and Alicia, out of the blue one day, just shoots her husband like multiple times in the face. And then after that, she goes completely silent and she goes into this insane asylum and refuses to talk. And then we're following the perspective of this doctor named Theo. And Theo is determined to get Alicia to talk and try and figure out why she did what she did. Out of all the thrillers that I'm going to talk to you about today, the twist in this one is probably the most memorable one, and it's probably the craziest. Well, I won't say that because there's a lot of crazy twists in these thrillers, but this one, so good. Coming in at number 13 is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney is quickly becoming one of my favorite thriller authors. I just love the way that she writes, and I just love most of her books that I've read. This one, the setting is so good. So we're following a married couple who is having some issues in their marriage. So what they've decided to do is they're going to go on a weekend getaway to this very snowy, isolated place and try and fix their marriage. The only problem is when they reach their destination, one, it is an abandoned old church that's been turned into a kind of like this Airbnb sort of thing. And two, there's a huge snowstorm and now they're trapped. Ooh, y'all. I will tell you that this husband also has facial recognition problems. Do with that what you will. The twist in this one is absolutely crazy, and one of my favorite tropes in here is that there's somebody watching. Loved this one. Next is another thriller author that just holds a special place in my heart, and that is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Ruth Ware was actually one of the first thriller authors that I got into when I started getting into reading. This one is following our main character Rowan, and Rowan is also struggling, and she finds this opportunity that seems too good to be true. She finds this nannying position in a very technologically advanced home. And let's just say there's lots of people watching. Things start getting a little creepy in this one. If you've never read anything by Ruth Ware before, I think it's very important for you to know that her thrillers are a little bit more flowery. Her writing, I don't want to say flowery because that sounds like dull and boring, but I do think that she adds a lot more detail than just your average thriller writer. But her stories are a little bit deeper, they're creepy, and I really did like the tech house setting and the aspect of the technology in there. I thought it just added that creep factor. Next is a book that I actually just read last month. I know. And that is Unmissing by Minka Kent. Oh my gosh, y'all. This was so much fun. This is available on Kindle Unlimited, which is exactly where I found it, and it's like 250 pages. I am quickly finding out that Mika Kent is the author for me because one, she writes very short thrillers, and two, they keep your attention. This one is about a woman who was tragically kidnapped, and she was gone for 9 years, so she was obviously presumed to be dead. And her husband moves on with his new wife and new child, and he's just going on about his happy life, and then his wife that presumed to be dead shows up on his doorstep. And guess whose perspective we're getting, guys? We're getting the kidnapped wife and the perspective of his new wife. This went off the rails, y'all. And I absolutely love when a thriller goes off the rails. I think you will see that this is a common theme in all of these thrillers because they go off the rails. This one kept me intrigued from page one. I absolutely loved this one. I think it was such a good fun time. This was easily 5 stars, and I will definitely be reading more by Mika Kent. Next is another Ruth Ware book, and that is The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. This was actually the first Ruth Ware that I picked up and one of the second thrillers that I ever picked up. So obviously this one holds a special place in my heart. Y'all, I still think about this book. The setting, the vibes, the eeriness, all of it. This one is following our main character, Hallie, and Hallie has had a really, really rough time in her life. And she is on the struggle bus, also a common theme in here. She's had a rough hand handed to her. She doesn't have a lot of family around her, and she isn't doing great financially. However, she gets a letter in the mail saying that her grandmother has passed away tragically, and she is set to inherit her estate. And she's like, what? My grandmother passed away a long time ago. This woman is not my grandmother. But as I told you, she's on the struggle bus and she needed money. So what she does is she packs up what little belongings she has and she goes to this creepy manor sort of estate to collect what's rightfully hers. I will eventually reread this because this was just such a good creepy time and had me guessing from the time I opened the book. What number are we at now? Oh my gosh, we're at number 9. We're getting closer to our top 5. Number 9 is The Clinic by Kate Quinn. This is another one that I just recently read a couple months ago actually, and this was such a good time. I already knew that I was gonna like it based off of the cover because I love books with this eerie sort of setting. I mean, look at it. It's a cliffside clinic. Why would I not want to go in there? Anyway, so this one is following our main character whose sister has just recently checked herself into a rehab clinic, and she gets word that her sister has overdosed. And our main character is like, absolutely not. My sister would have never done that. I believe there's something going on at that clinic. So our main character checks herself into this rehab clinic and pretends to be a patient to try and figure out what really happened to her sister. This is another one that goes completely off the rails, and I will say that Kate Quinn in her author's note makes it very clear that she was actually part of a rehab clinic at one time, and she brought a lot of her experiences into this book, and I think that that really, really helped with one, with the credibility, and two, with the realness of it all. This one was so good, y'all. Coming in at number 8 is The Family Game by Catherine Stedman, specifically the audiobook of this book. Y'all, I listened to this book on a complete whim. I picked it up and I was like, this is just gonna be a fast, fun time, whatever. No, y'all, the audiobook of this book is so good. Something about me, y'all, is I really love me a good full cast audiobook, especially if there's like sound effects and stuff. That just makes the experience so good. This was a full cast audiobook and it had the sound effects to it. So, what is The Family Game about? It's about our main character who is marrying into this richy rich family, and what she finds out very quickly is that this family is strange. This family plays a lot of games. Now keep in mind, they are richy rich and they're proper. And they do everything very civil, very under the table. And basically her father-in-law, her soon-to-be father-in-law, slides her a cassette tape and asks her to listen to it. That's what kind of games this family likes to play. So I'm guessing Thanksgiving was very awkward. This was so much fun. This ride and this figuring it out was so much fun. I will tell you, This was one of the only thrillers on this list that I actually figured out the twist, but let me tell you, it still made it on the list because that did not take my enjoyment whatsoever. I loved it. I thought it was done so well. Coming in at number 7 is by Simone St. James, and this is called Murder Road. This is also a recent read for me, like at the beginning of the year, I think. And when I tell you this is one of the creepiest books that I put on this list, this is one of the creepiest books I put on this list. If you do not like paranormal, scary, eerie, creepy, probably ain't your cup of tea, y'all. Obviously, I am well versed in thrillers. I read a lot of them, and I have been creeped out before, but when I tell you this was actually one of the scariest, creepiest thrillers that I've ever read in my entire life, I mean it. So please do not go into this one thinking it's just going to be a murder on some kind of a road. No, it's not. This one is following our newlywed couple that they have just gotten married and they're on their way to their honeymoon when they see a woman stranded on the side of the street. It's raining and it's at night, and they're like, why is that woman out in the middle of the street in the middle of the night? They decide to pull over and they ask her where she's going, and then they figure out that she is bleeding and needs emergency help. This is another one, y'all, that goes completely off the rails, and that synopsis is not even giving you anything. It's like a little breadcrumb compared to what the book actually is. That's all I'm gonna give you. It's so good and creepy. Coming in at number 6 is one that I want you to proceed with caution. Did you hear me? Proceed with caution for this one, y'all. Okay? The rest of them are just good, fun, crazy times. This one is a trigger heavy book, and that is She Started It by Sean Gilbert. I'm not even gonna lie, I am hesitant about recommending this book to you because I know that there are so many triggers in this book that is not even funny, and I highly encourage you to look it up and go into depth. If you want to message me on anything and just ask me before going into it, if you're curious, just let me know. But I couldn't not mention this book on this list because this was one of my favorite all-time thrillers. Okay, this one follows a group of friends, and they were the popular pretty girls that nobody messed with in high school, and they're still friends as adults, but they all have their own problems and own lives now. And they all receive an invitation to be a bridesmaid for this girl named Poppy. And Poppy is so nice, she's inviting them to an all-exclusive resort in the Bahamas to celebrate her wedding. I read this in the Bahamas, by the way. The vibes were vibing. The only catch is that this group of girls, they bullied Poppy in high school heavily. Again, y'all, please do not go into this one completely blind. I think that there is a lot of heavy things that go down in here. It is pretty graphic, so if you're not into that sort of thing, I definitely would proceed with caution with this one, or skip it altogether. But I am telling you, this is one of the best thrillers that I've ever read. You know what time it is? It's top 5 time. We're in the top 5. Now I have to go change my camera battery because I'm going to be talking a long time about these. Alright, you guys good? Get a drink of water, get a little snacky snack, and buckle up because these are my top 5 thrillers of all time. Okay, coming in at number 5 is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Okay, I went back and forth on my number 5 spot. None of This Is True was a thriller that completely took me by surprise. I went into it thinking it was, it's just gonna be another Lisa Jewell, because if I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really enjoyed a Lisa Jewell yet until this one. When I tell you that my experience reading this book was one of my favorite of all time, I mean that 100%. I tandem read this one, so I had the audiobook as well as the physical book, and I believe that that is the way to go because there is a podcast element to it, and without the audiobook, you're gonna kind of miss all that. This one is following 2 women who meet at a restaurant one day and they're celebrating their birthdays on the same day. And they go to the bathroom and they meet and they're like, hey, it's your birthday? It's my birthday. Like, we're birthday twins. And one of the women actually runs a podcast where she lets women share their stories. And the other one, her name is Josie. And Josie's like, hey, listen, I've got a story that I would really like to bring forth on your podcast. I know it's like crazy that we're meeting all of a sudden, but like, can I be on your podcast? And so Alex is like, okay, that's kind of weird, but like, sure, whatever. Let's just say the story that Josie has to tell, it's a little cray-cray. I think the reason I love this one so much was the experience getting to the end. It wasn't one of these books that I had to like completely eat up and figure out what's going on. It was one of those books that I was quite literally enjoying from page one, and I was just enjoying my time reading it. So, hear me loud and clear, I do think that you need the audiobook for this one. It just enhances the experience. Creepy, but good. Number 4. The Last Word by Taylor Adams. Taylor Adams also wrote No Exit. If you guys remember that book was really popular a couple years ago. I really liked that one, but it was nowhere close to this one, y'all. This one is following our main character, who is hired to house sit in this very isolated coastal place. And she's just sitting in this house, reading her little Kindle, as we all do, and she reads this very awful thriller book. And so she decides to give it what it deserves, and that is a 1-star review. Well, almost instantly she gets a response on her review from the author. And the author ask her to take the review down because it's not fair that she reviewed the book. So they go back and forth, and the woman is like, absolutely not, I'm not taking my review down. Your book was terrible. And let's just say that this author takes matters into his own hands and shows up on the doorstep in a mask. This whole book is following that entire night of her trying to escape this psychomaniac that wants to kill her over a 1-star review. I think this is every reader's worst nightmare come to life, and I think Taylor Adams knew that, and so he has us all by the throat trying to read this book, because there are some psychos out there. Just saying. We're at number 3 now. Number 3 spot is most deserving to Hidden Pictures by Jason Recollect. And I am physically showing you this book because there's a couple things I want to say about it. First and foremost, if you guys know my dog Nugget, and you guys think he's so cute, he got a hold of this book. And I was not happy with him, but that's beside the point because this is one of my favorite books of all time, and he got a hold of it. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm not even that salty about it. If you're going to read this book, you need to get it physically. Go get it at the library. Go get it at the bookstore. Go find it somewhere, because you physically need this book in your hands. What do you know? This book is following a nanny. What is that, the 4th book that I've talked about that talks about a nanny? Anyway, so this book talks about a nanny, and she is really liking her job as a nanny. And then one day, the kid that she babysits starts drawing. Yeah, it's got the creepy kid factor in it. And guys, that's one of my favorite tropes ever. So his drawings are very innocent. You know, like random kid drawings. Look at that cute little bunny, okay? We all know them, okay? Yeah, see how cute? How cute. And then she starts to notice that things get a little bit more creepy. And they start getting a little darker. And she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to do. Because Teddy, the kid, he seems fine. He seems normal. But when he's in his room drawing to himself, he starts talking to somebody. That's it. That's all I'm going to tell you. I just noticed this. Look at that. Any of y'all want a dog? Top 2. I'm going to say that number 2 was my number 1 for the longest time. And anybody that I recommend thrillers to, I recommend this book. And I do have some friends that are going to disagree with me on this, but I will fight this battle until the day I die. Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. Y'all, I just can't help it. I love this book with a passion. The setting, the characters, the eeriness, the tropes, everything about this book is top notch. So, let me tell you what it's about. This book follows our main character, Daisy Darker. And Daisy is invited to her grandmother's 90th birthday. The thing is that grandma lives at a seaside manor, and the tide comes in, so they're trapped there for the night. This really big storm comes through and things just start getting a little haywire. Okay, Grandma's had her birthday cake and things start getting a little creepy. Guys, I love this book. I think I may reread this book now. So after everybody goes to bed, they hear a crash in the middle of the night and they come down to see that Grandma is on the floor. She's dead, and there is a creepy chalkboard with all of their names on it, and Grandma is crossed out. Guys, that's my kind of thriller. Guess what? You're never gonna guess. They start getting picked off one by one. And the creepy chalkboard keeps getting, like, the names keep getting marked out. My favorite part about this book, y'all, is they find this very creepy VHS tape of their childhood. Let me just say this. There are so many people out there that are like, I guessed this twist. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Okay, there is no way that you will guess this twist. And if somebody tells you they did, they're lying. If you get any recommendations from me today, let it be this one. Coming in at my top favorite thriller is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Y'all, I could not make this video without mentioning Riley Sager. I couldn't do it. It was like, I couldn't do it. This is his latest release. The Middle of the Night is his new one that he's coming out with, but this was his latest release. In my humble opinion, this is his best book yet. This one is following our main character, and she is a caretaker, and she gets assigned a job to a woman that nobody wants to take care of. And for good reason, because this woman is Lenora Hope. Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. Okay, she killed her entire family, or so everybody thinks she did. Her entire family was found dead, and she was the only one that had survived. And now she is basically paralyzed and not able to speak, and she needs a full-time caregiver, and our main character comes to that rescue. This is another one that also takes place at a creepy seaside manor, and the vibes in this one are immaculate. This one is so fun, and I will tell you that Riley Sager, his twists are elite. There's nobody that ever does it better, in my opinion, and I will tell you that you're going to have whiplash at the end of this one, because the amount of twist, you think you know what's going on, and then you don't, and then you do again, and then you don't, and then you have no idea what's going on, and then you do. Just trust me on this one. If you are wanting to pick up a Riley Sager, let it be this one. And there you have it, my friends. Those are my top 15 favorite thrillers of all time. This is my go-to guide for thrillers. In my humble opinion, y'all, you can't go wrong with any of these. I'm sure everybody has a different opinion about these, but these are my personal favorites. Let me know of any kind of other favorite videos that you want to see from me. I definitely do want to do a favorite book of all time video of where I show you my favorite books of all time, even though I'm sure some of them you can probably guess. I do want to do that video at some point, but let me know if there's any other favorite videos that you guys want to see from me, like my favorite cozy mysteries, my favorite romances. Y'all let me know. And until next time, my friends, I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys!